For our presentation, we shall discuss Chapter 14, Geology and Paleontology, from a collection of science and religion background readings.
This chapter of Geology and Paleontology summarizes some main events, paradigm shifts, and the sway of the general public throughout the period from the late 18th century to fairly recent times.
Chapter 14 starts before Darwin's time, describing the work geologists undertook. This work culminated with the book
Époques de la Nature.
Through their endeavors, the geologists showed that the Earth was in fact much older than assumed by Genesis.
This was the first step in, quote, reducing the relative significance of the human world in time, end quote, which basically means that humans discovered they were less important than previously thought. This is a progressive view which the discovery of the size of the universe has only furthered. However, at this point, most people did not believe this, and many geologists were at the mercy of the church.
Then came Charles Darwin, who took everything a bit farther with his theory of organic evolution, which also incorporated the vast time frames proposed by the geologists. Charles Darwin gained widespread attention for his book and was really the initial point where the church and science started to divide.
Early geologists started to find fossilized dinosaurs, and these were famously described by the poet Alfred Tennyson as dragons of the prime that tear each other in their slime.
As time progressed, several views developed, such as Moscow geology and Curvian view, which postulated that, quote, formations are the record of separate periods of geological history, end quote.
Then came a book presenting Earth's history called Discours préliminaire by Georges Cuvier. Georges Cuvier explains how old the Earth is and that it went through many stages, the most recent of which was considered to be the Genesis flood by the majority of the people.
It's interesting to note at this point how science and religion have progressed. It can be argued that at this point in history is when they are most equal. Despite the controversies, geology and religion correspond to each other, quote, through the concepts and institutions of natural theology, end quote. Both science and religion seem to accept some views of the other in similar accounts. However, from this point forward, balance tilts.
Then it was deduced that the, quote, stratigraphic record showed a progressive trend. However, Charles Lyell persisted in his denial of this, using many of the same arguments modern creationists use today.
In the end, it seems that science became the favored explanation for natural phenomena. So much so that the church ended up changing its views to reconcile with science.
Overall, over the past 200 years, a great shift in the attitude towards science and religion has emerged. In the beginning, it was thought that the Bible was unquestionably right. However, through progressive scientific inquiry and an ever-increasing number of scientific professionals, the Bible has been questioned and found full of faults and contradictions. Over time, this has led to a great divide between the two, to such an extent that the Bible is largely ignored in many scientific fields and thought to be outright wrong. We can only guess at what the future will hold, but judging by this pattern, we can postulate that this gap will only widen.